Now, concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of God calleth Jesus accursed, and that no man can say that Jesus is the Lord, but by the Holy Ghost. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God that which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these worketh that one and the self-same Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. For as the body is one, and hath many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Christ. For by one Spirit we are all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free. All have been made all to drink into one Spirit. For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, am I not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now hath God set the members, every one of them, into the body, as it had pleased him. And if it were all one member, where were the body? But now are they many members, yet but one body? And the eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. Nay, much more those members of the body, which seem to be more feeble, are necessary. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor. And our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness. For our comely parts have no need, but God hath tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to the part which lacked. That there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care for one another. And whether one member suffer, or all the members suffer with it, or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it. Now ye are the body of Christ, and members in particular. And God had set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healing, helps, governments, diversity of tongues. All are apostles. Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet shew I unto you a more excellent way. Good evening. It's Tuesday, August 12th, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and this is the Watchman News. That was 1 Corinthians 12. Yeah, as you can tell, has a little bit of meaning with me. A lot of Corinthians chapters have a lot of meaning with me. There's so much to be learned. There's so much to be loved. There's so much to teach us how to love others within Corinthians. And I think this does a very good job of explaining that. I think this does a very good job of explaining how we should be treating one another. We need to stop being so judgmental against one another. We need to start working with one another, because if we don't, we're in some trouble. We're already in some deep trouble. There's no doubt about that. People need to stop. They need to stop with the craziness. They need to stop dividing each other. Look at verse 11. But all these worketh that one and the selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. For the body is one, and hath many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body. So also is Christ. What do you think that's saying? Seriously. You know, I've seen a lot of division going on, especially this with Ferguson, Missouri. I've seen a lot of division going on in social media. I've seen the racism end of it. I've seen it rear its ugly head on both sides. Both sides. It's disgusting. And all these people that are being racist have no understanding whatsoever that it's all of us. It's a problem for all of us. It's all of us that's being oppressed. It's all of us. We are that one body. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. You know, it's not often. You know, there's only a case here and there. That get the national media attention, like the Michael Brown case. Eric Varner didn't even get this kind of immediate attention. You know, I don't know what the formula is. I don't know how these news channels pick which stories they just want to push. But let me tell you this. They don't have good intentions behind it. They're not trying to bring you the news. They're trying to cause division. They're trying to get ratings. They don't care. They don't care about either end of it. Not 1 second. But it's people that make up their own opinions, their own assumptions, their own ideas about what's going on and what did happen and all that. And nobody will stop and look at the facts. I've been involved in several discussions over it. By the way, the whole news is not going to be about the Michael Brown case, but I am starting out with it. So and I do have some news, some things I want to show you to kind of further prove what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to relay to you. We are of one body. We aren't in the club. I'm telling you that right now. And neither are the police. They're not in the club. Some of them think they are, but they're not. And those that think they are, they're going to find out soon enough. Believe me on that. They'll find out soon enough. They'll see real quick who does and who doesn't stand behind them when things go south. Trust me. Because there ain't many people in that club. I'll tell you that right now. Probably nobody that any of us talks to. But anyway, yeah, I've seen a lot of division. I really have, and it's sad. I've seen so many different assumptions as to what's gone on. I've seen, and I keep raising the same point because it's a fact. And one thing that you can't step away from is facts. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. You can make up as much stuff as you want, but when there's just hardcore facts that go against, I don't know what to say. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. And I've been struggling because I would like to be able to show you an image of what I'm going to say, but I can't do that. Not here. There's a time and place for everything. If you want to go search for it on the internet, please feel free to do so. But I'm not going to show that image here. There's a video of Mr. Brown laying in the street. And, I'm not a forensics expert. I don't claim to be. But I know a lot about physics. A lot. And you can tell with some bit of ease, and I'm sorry for the pause there, I'm struggling how to say this. I don't do this scripted. I do this off the cuff. That's the way it should be done. That I don't want anybody to say, oh, well, no. Some nights flow pretty well, other nights I stumble for words. Right now I'm stumbling through thoughts for the words because I don't like to be that graphic, especially on a spiritually based show like this. But you can tell by where the blood is, there would be, and I'll just say it, what I believe to be brain matter laying next to the body. Now, I could be mistaken. That may not have been what it was. But if I'm correct, Mr. Brown was on the ground, face down, when he was shot in the head. That's the only fact I need to know. The rest, to me, doesn't matter. Because that shot wasn't necessary. It's just my opinion. Just my opinion. I don't understand why it was necessary. So I'm not going to do the whole show on that. But it's just something that really bothers me, and something that I've been trying to get through to some of the people that just want to, oh, well, he struggled for the gun. Well, I don't know if he did or he didn't, and neither do these people because they weren't there. They weren't there. A lot of witnesses have been saying that, that's not at all how it happened. And I'm not going to say, I can't say who's telling the truth. Because I don't know. I wasn't there. But I do know what I seen in that, well, it was a video. And it would appear that he was already down before that particular shot was taken. And I don't see how that was necessary to do, especially to an unarmed teen that was apparently already shot at least a couple of times. Anyway, let's move on, okay? Where was I going with what I was saying? First off, this is supposed to be the United States of America. Last I knew, this was the United States of America. I often have to ask that anymore because it doesn't necessarily look like it. I'm sorry. Does that look to you like the United States? I mean, now, I was watching my video from the Occupy Wall Street movement, so these images are actually kind of familiar to me. But it may not be to a lot of you. Ferguson, Missouri. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, I believe this is a, yeah. Here's some imager pictures of from the tear gas. I felt these were important. I mean, really? I understand there were riots and there was looting, and I get that, and I understand that, and there's solutions for that too. This isn't the solution. Not at all. This is problem, reaction, solution. That's what you're looking at right there. That's what the government is good at playing right there. Problem, reaction, solution. And I'm not saying that the government purposely caused the problem here, but they're seizing upon the moment. I'm not saying that anybody told that police officer, hey, go, start a national ordeal. I'm not saying that happened. But they definitely seized upon the moment to use their toys and their training. I mean, come on. Let's get real. Really? There's one of their MRAP vehicles. You better believe they're going to put those to good use. We haven't seen nothing yet. I got a video to show you. I will warn you. The video is got graphic language in it. I try to be discerning as to what I show, and what I allow to be heard and stuff here. But sometimes it's best to just kind of leave things alone. And I think this is one of these times. I think it's kind of important for people to understand frustration and whatnot to a point. I had another video here. Hang on, let me see what... Oh, okay, that's what it is. Yeah, I wanted you to see this video as well. Let me go ahead and play this one first. I heard that come on a little loud, so let me play this one. Let me turn the volume down. Let me play this one first. I know I didn't get to suspicious observers yet. Give me, yeah, I'll get there. Let me finish this on Ferguson and what's going on there, and then I'll do suspicious observers, and then I'll get into the rest of the stuff I have for you. I apologize for getting backwards. Some things get me, Some things get me. I get really passionate about, and especially after reading that particular Bible chapter, I thought it was important to go right into discussing this. So let me play this video and then we'll go from there. Again, I apologize for any language you might hear. I apologize. You guys aren't seeing that, are you? I apologize for that. Hang on, let me fix that. Wrong window. There you go.
Stop down talking people. Don't shoot! We're going to do it now. Don't shoot! Like I said, I didn't come out last night. I was shooting SWD.
So I'm not defending people that riot. I'm not defending people that loot. I'm not defending any of those types of actions. What I am saying is when you meet force with force in that kind of manner, I mean, who is it that they're mad at, right? They're not mad at me. They're not mad at you. They're mad at the police. You know, I had somebody bring up, you know, well, they can't just let them go. You know, I mean, just let them go crazy. No. See, back in the day, we used to have things called rights. Back in the day, we used to have something called common sense. That's been long gone. You know, if these store owners with these stores that's been looted, if they would have been out there protecting them stores, if they would have armed themselves and been out there and just standing in front of their store saying, oh, no, not my store. You know what? We know from the LA riots, from Rodney King, we know from that. There was also a couple stores where we had the same deal going on in Ferguson. There's images and stuff of that, of some store owners, I think a tattoo shop owner and a gun shop or something like that. They were standing out front. They were armed. They were just standing there. That's all. And I'm not excusing their actions because there is no excuse for it. But there are some things that aren't worth a pair of Nikes or a pair of Reeboks or Converse or whatever brand. In my case, a pair of $20 Walmart shoes. But there are some things that aren't worth that. And a bullet's definitely not worth that. You know, the only reason why they broke into those stores and stole that stuff because it was easy pickings. And they had what they thought was an excuse, right? It's not a viable excuse. It's not. Not whatsoever. But ain't, you know, there ain't any of them that was going to try and take on armed people to go get, I don't know what they would have got from a tattoo shop, but, you know, I mean, they weren't even going to try and break into a gun store with somebody standing out front holding one. It's just like these, you know, these victim disarmament zones or whatever you want to call them, the no gun zones, right? You don't see mass shootings happening in those places because they might get shot, even though most of them wind up shooting themselves. That's not the point. The point ain't, you know, isn't whether or not they're going to shoot themselves in the end. The point is how much damage they can inflict before they do that. And they aren't going to pick a place that they might not be able to do any damage because there might be somebody armed that takes action. It's the same situation. Again, we've seen it with the Korean owned stores in the LA riots with Rodney King. The Koreans were up on the rooftops. You know, they just had regular weapons. They didn't have fully automatic weapons or anything like that. But those stores didn't get touched, and those store owners didn't get bothered. They left them alone. There was a level of respect there. Why? Because they were just looking out for their stuff, and people could respect that. This is not the answer. A police state is not the answer. It's not. It's problem, reaction, solution. The next video I'm going to show you is a little shocking. And that's why I talked for a little bit before I bring it to you. And I'm pretty sure there might be some language in this, so just pardon it. Here you go. This is mind-boggling. This is very bothersome. And I understand you're going to hear people yelling at the police. So what? So what? They're mad. They're upset. It doesn't deserve what you're going to see.
You know what he's doing, man.
He gonna get on that once I get close.
That's what this is.
That's how you get straight through, y'all. Step back, step back.
You go home.
You go home. You go home. You go home. You go home. You go home. They are marching toward us.
Hands up.
Hands up.
And they are marching toward us.
Y'all coming towards us. Hands up.
Come on, close.
Hands up. Hands up. Hands up.
Shoot that motherfucker.
Come on. You want it. You want it. Come get it. Come get it. You want it. Take this piss.
This is my problem.
Let's go. This my shit. This my shit. This my shit. Let's go. No, fuck that shit. This my shit. This my shit. This my shit. No, I'm posting. What they mean. You got all that recording? This my backyard.
That's what they do.
This my backyard.
This is our home.
This my shit.
It's our residence.
Y'all gotta fuck on. Why they just
Why
shoot
you think
it up?
people say
You
fuck
just
the
shot at
police?
me.
Why you think people say fuck the police?
This a fuck
That
off.
shit.
Come on. We in our backyard.
This my house.
Shoot us. Who just did that?
They put that shit
Private fucking property.
This my shit.
Shooting over the gate.
They straight shot over
Shot over
her.
the
Everybody got their hands up and everything. They shot at me.
They not even shooting over
They
here.
shot at me. Fuck y'all. You got a can in the yard. They shot
We in our yard.
Plenty cans in the yard.
Hey, go, man. Hey,
Oh shit! Go, finna go.
Leave. Come on, come on. Let's go, let's go. Get the fuck on. Hey, let's go.
Is that ridiculous or what? And I apologize for language, but I don't cherry coat anything, and I'm not going to start cherry coating anything. It's not the way I'm going to do this show. I'm just not going to do this show that way. I'm not. There's two sides to everything, and I'm sure that most people will pick one side or the other from watching that video and hearing that. Some people might say, well, he was saying, shoot him, shoot him. Really? So that deserves getting a tear gas canister shot at you? And yesterday I brought somebody up, and I think I started to say his name was Scott. And after the show, immediately after the show, you know how it goes, the name came to me, Kelly Thomas. Kelly Thomas. He was the gentleman that got shot in the head with a tear gas canister. And I do believe it was California. Hopefully I'm not wrong on that, too, since we're live. They're not learning anything. All these kids were doing were screaming. And, you know, somebody might want to jump on the other side and say, well, they didn't know if they had a gun. Those kids could have had a gun pointing it at them. Well, you know what? I remember back in the day when may have didn't constitute an act of violence. I remember that. I remember when an officer wasn't even allowed to unholster his firearm unless he felt his life was in danger. Now, the first thing they want to do is grab it and pull it out. It's intimidation tactics. If you don't know anything about that, then maybe you should go back and read history and learn a little bit about Nazi Germany. I get very passionate about this subject because it's frustrating on many levels. For one, this is the United States of America. We follow a constitution. This country is a constitutional republic. And if you don't know what that is, I ask you, I implore you, look it up. We are not a democracy. That is a farce. That word has been shoved down people's throats for years. So people will accept the thought or the idea that we're some kind of a democracy. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. The difference is of utmost importance. Our founding fathers wrote documents that even our federal government cannot go beyond for a reason. And it's to protect we the people. Each and every one of us as individuals. It's not to protect groups of people. That is a democracy. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They were in their yard, behind a fence. Reminds me of the story that came out. I mean, it's two totally different levels, but I mean, the story about the child or children that were suspended from school because they were playing with, I don't know, airsoft guns, water guns, something like that, in their yard before school, and the school bus driver seen them, and they wound up suspended from school or expelled. It's been a while. It's ridiculous. Just like the kid that got in trouble for taking a bite out of his Pop-Tart, and it was in the shape of a gun. Or a kid that made the shape of a gun with his hand. Ridiculous. Stop it. Stop. We are one body. I I don't care what your color is. I don't care where you came from. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care. And neither does God. And if that don't wake you up, I don't know what will. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Because those that's sitting back having a good old time watching the video and reading the reports about this stuff doesn't realize that they're going to be on that same situation soon enough. I've got one friend on Facebook I went to high school with, and I'm not calling anybody out, but boy, he's really, and he said some pretty racial things. I mean, enough to make me cringe. And it's like, he's a hunter. He likes to hunt. Again, I'm not going to out anybody, but let me explain my thoughts on this situation. He's a hunter. He likes to hunt. So obviously he has firearms. Wonder how funny he's going to think when all the liberals are laughing at him when he's getting his door busted down and getting his firearms taken away from him for simply owning them. It's going to be real funny, isn't it? It's ridiculous. I don't want anybody to think that I'm mad or I'm upset or, that Mike's gone wild. I've never heard him talk like this. I'm not upset. Not frustrated. I'm disappointed. But I am passionate. And this is something that I'm passionate about. And if you take offense to that, if that bothers you, I apologize. Not really, but I apologize on your behalf. Does that sound fair? Probably not. I'm just digging my hole deeper, ain't I? No, I think those with eyes to see and ears to hear will understand what I'm saying. It's ridiculous, and it's got to stop. We need to look at the facts, and we need to react accordingly. And I don't mean by going and rioting and looting, and tried to combine those words. I don't mean by doing stuff like that. I'm not talking about by causing damage or any more harm or anybody, I'm not a fan of Al Sharpton, but he spoke today and I did catch what he had to say. And even though I'm not a fan and normally, I'm kind of against what he tries to do because, come on, we all know what Al Sharpton tries to do. He tries to keep things stirred up. It didn't so much sound like that when I heard his statement that he said today. I was kind of impressed with what he had to say, to be honest. I mean, he was just straight. But let's get off of that. I mean, wow, I spent way too long on it. Just frustrating because a lot of people don't understand that what they're seeing happen now to people other than themselves is going to come on themselves in enough due time. And if we don't stand together with them now, then who's going to be there to stand with us later? And they're going to keep dwindling us down from division to division to division. That's hard to say 3 times in a row. For me. I mean, if you're not intelligent enough to understand the chess game that's being played, then it's probably a good idea not to speak out against it. I didn't learn the different things that I've learned in life. I can work on cars, computers, I can do machining, welding, engineering. I didn't learn how to do that stuff by knowing everything. I learned how to do that stuff by shutting up and listening to those that did know how to do it. Quite simple. So if you don't, I'm just saying, if you're somebody that doesn't understand the game that's being played here, then let somebody that does understand the game explain it to you. Don't cry later on when things don't work out so well for you, when you wouldn't listen to people beforehand. That's all I'm saying. So let's get on with some wonderful news. It's a bad thing about doing the news. Yeah, I could do happy-go-lucky stories all the time, but we wouldn't learn anything now, would we? So here's something that's probably important to know. That's just from RT. And secret programs to stay secret. Court sides with NSA and surveillance lawsuit. A federal judge in California sided mostly with the United States government this week in a decision handed down concerning classified documents pertaining to the National Security Agency's secret surveillance programs. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers is a justice from the U.S. District Court for the District of Northern California, said on Monday that the Department of Justice did not have to disclose two sets of documents among the three requested in a lawsuit filed by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a California-based digital rights group. Wow, I actually had to take a breath in there. The EFF has long sought the release of NSA documents related to legal rulings made by Secret in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. The names of phone companies compelled to hand over user data to the NSA and a 2012 legal memo concerning the U.S. Census and Patriot Acts. The NSA failure to adhere to the Freedom of Information Act request filed by the EFF prompted the advocacy group to file suit asking the court to compel their release. But on Monday, Judge Gonzalez-Rogers said the 13-page decision that the Justice Department was largely right to withhold those filings and need to make only public to the census memo. Now read this quote and we'll go on. Having carefully considered the papers and arguments submitted, the judge wrote, the court hereby orders that the cross motions are granted in part and denied in part. DOJ has established a proper basis for withholding in full the FISC orders and opinions at issue, and for withholding all names of telecommunications providers participating in the call records collection program under Freedom of Information Act Exemptions 1 and 3. Thus, summary judgment is granted in favor of the Department of Justice on the claim for disclosure of this information. However, Department of Justice has not established that the census memorandum is properly withheld under Exemption 5, and EFF is granted summary judgment on its claim for FOIA in violation as to this document. So basically what they're saying is we're not allowed to know, and this is stupid anyway, and I'll explain why. We're not allowed to know what telecommunications providers are allowing them to record our phone calls. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. It's all of them. Don't tell nobody. I told you that, right? Every single one of them. All right? Every single one. Everything you're doing is going into a database. You might as well understand that right now. I'm telling you, what TV shows you watch is going into a database. If you think I'm goofy, you're goofy for thinking I'm goofy. It's that simple. I don't know what to tell you. A record on how many times you open up your refrigerator, and if you think that's a joke, you're goofy. You got an Energy Star logo on that puppy, guess what? Oh yeah, Mike, go put on your tinfoil hat. Okay, I will right after you look up the patents. I'll go put on my tinfoil hat. I'll dance through the streets with it. But you got to look up the patents first. How's that deal? Huh? I'll dance through the street with a tinfoil hat naked. If you can read the patents and prove me wrong. How's that? I wonder if that's encouragement to get people to actually research something. I have to try that more often if it works. Anyway, let's move on before I wind up naked in the street wearing a tinfoil hat. Oh, forgive me, Father. Sometimes there's no hope. Not for me. So this next, let's go to something a little more serious. And I do mean that. This bothers me tremendously. And when you see me get like this, goofy or whatever you want to call it. It's probably because I'm pretty bothered by something. Best way for me to deal with it. Kira Davis, U.S. may sign UN treaty usurping parental rights. Tinfoil hat story? What's going on? There's no shortage of domestic issues to be concerned about these days. From the chaos at the border to Ebola patients on our soil to Kanye West's Messiah complex. We are overwhelmed with crisis after crisis. I hate to put one more on your plate, but I think this is an issue that parents, particularly parents of disabled children, may want to know about. Recently, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted to send the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Treaty to the full Senate for official vote. At first glance, the CRPD doesn't seem that scary. It's basically an international agreement to secure the rights of dignity and fair treatment for disabled people across the globe. That's not such a bad thing, considering that most non-Westernized unions treat persons with disabilities as highly disposable and extremely undesirable. The results are often abandonment and or death. Clearly, there is an international crisis when it comes to the treatment of those born with disabilities. That cannot be denied. Fortunately, the United States is not one of those countries that tolerate such treatment, and yet we are getting set to sign an international treaty that could potentially usurp state and parental rights when it comes to how we treat our disabled citizens, specifically children. Now, I want to jump in here. And I want to just say a word. Obamacare. Okay, let's move on. Unsurprisingly, the CRPD includes some very vague language that could be interpreted to the detriment of free American citizens. The Homeschool Legal Defense Association has taken up this issue in particular because they are concerned homeschooling parents of disabled children may lose their right of association and ability to make autonomous decisions when it comes to the well-being of their students at home. So a lot of people might think, that's crazy. That's crazy. I know that website. I know that website. They always post crazy stuff. They always post crazy stuff. Always. Well, I gave you the link. Notice it says www.un.org. Right there, man. Right there. I gave you the link. It's in the About tab. Go read it. I did. Like 4 times, to be honest. And it's upsetting. And it's appalling. And if you're a parent, especially if you're a parent of a disabled child, if you don't read this, I'll just withhold my thoughts. How's that sound? Fair enough? I thought so. But anyway, I digress. And I know we still haven't gotten suspicious observers. He might wind up being the last thing tonight. Read it. Just read it. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. Hey, here's interesting news. Cosmic rays to pinpoint Fukushima cores. A system using muon detectors should be able to determine the exact locations of the molten cores of the damaged Fukushima Daiichi reactors. It is to be supplied by Decision Sciences International Corporation through a contract awarded by Toshiba. So basically, it seems like they came up with a device that might be able to find the cores at Fukushima. But I don't know what we're going to do if we find them, but at least it would it'd be nice to know where they're at. Maybe we can come up with some kind of a plan of action. But we definitely have to find them first. So I wanted to. I'm not going to go in and read the article because I just wanted to pass it on. It looks like there could be some advancement in at least trying to do something instead of just making homeless people go work there, which is what has been done up to this point. And if you're not aware of that, I apologize. But that's what TEPCO's been doing for some time. So I just I thought that was a little bit of good news on that particular topic. So I wanted to today I saw a video by James Yeager, Tactical Response. He released a video today that was rather bothersome about a bill that apparently is entering Congress. I'll play the video. He does a pretty good job of explaining my thoughts as well.
Hey everybody, James Yeager with Tactical Response. Thanks for watching. As always, please check my sponsors down below. They keep this channel going. Wearing a shirt from my friends over at Combative Edge. We'll say hi to Rob and everybody over there. Check out their knives. Okay, this video is about HR 5344, which would ban the sale and possession of body armor for civilians. What kind of sense does this make? Now, I'm not saying I agree with gun control, because I believe everybody watching me knows that I certainly don't. But at least when they try to ban a gun, there's some amount, even though it's minuscule, amount of logic behind it. What type of logic is there to ban something that keeps people from being killed? Well, there's not. It's not legitimate. It's whatever the opposite of that is, and it's wrong. It's morally wrong, and it's ethically wrong to not allow people to wear body armor. Think about, there are people that work in office buildings that can't carry a gun. They're not allowed to carry a gun, but they do wear body armor because they're afraid of being shot. There are teachers. I mean, I know these people. I know there are people that wear body armor, that have body armor. I've got this desk calendar the Interceptor that I've reviewed, that would be illegal for somebody to have in their office, to lift their desk calendar up to stop a bullet. This is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. My friends over at AR500armor.com are very concerned about this. Yeah, they run a business selling body armor, but they are patriotic Americans, and they're worried about this. I posted some links underneath, so you can go sign a petition. You can keep up with the bill, see what's going on with its progress, etc., etc. But I implore you to find out what's going on and make this stop. This is absolutely a travesty of justice. This is not what we hired, elected our representatives to do. This is wrong. It's anti-American. I cannot come up with enough words to tell you how displeased I am with this. This is another brick in the wall. Stop it. This is James Yeager, Parental Response, reminding you that your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.
It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I can hear the people now. Well, don't do nothing to get shot. You won't need to worry about wearing body armor. Stop. Just because the situation may not apply to you yet doesn't mean that it either won't apply to you in the future, or it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to somebody that lives next door to you. Why are we so selfish? Do me a favor, please. Please. I ask, I know I ask you to read things. I ask you to talk to God. It's terrible. I ask these things, I know. Do me a favor. Please. Pick up your Bible. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Please. Please. Read it. Talk to God about it. Learn it. Understand it. Most importantly, live it. I mean, I can't think of better scripture to start this show out with. This particular show. But by one Spirit we are all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we bond or free, and have all been made to drink into one Spirit. We are all God's children. Every single one of us. And we should treat each other as such. My goodness. All right, let's do suspicious observers. Let's have a backwards show. How's that sound? Seems like we did anyway. Here we go. Suspicious observers for today. Links down in the About tab.
Good morning, folks. We're starting with an NRAO animation depicting the coma of Comet Lemon. They've fully analyzed the comas of this and Comet Ison and determined that the comets definitively produced organic materials in those comas. The atmospheres of the comets can produce organic compounds. In more comet news, NASA has put out their atmospheric interaction stance between comets sighting Spring and Mars. They discuss micrometeors and some minor electrical interactions in the form of umbrella auroras on the red planet. If you haven't seen our Sighting Spring series, it's on our channel page and linked for you right below this video. More importantly, linked below is the climate change series, and the hits just keep on coming. University of Wisconsin at Madison. In as plain English as you get, the observations show global cooling, but our mathematical models say it should be warming. This means there's something missing. The scramble begins to explain the divergence between modeling and observation, and, well, here's a big clue. And another one. Folks, climate change is real. It involves extreme shifts across temperature and precipitation ranges, and most who get through the climate change series with an open mind agree. Our star calls the shots. On to El Nino, may be a bit of a dud. While still expected to come this fall, the oceanic heating isn't as strong as before. And by the way, been seeing a lot of this talk online about the oceans getting hotter and hotter. Talk about parroting mainstream media. The oceans follow the same back and forth as the air. Some parts are cooler, not warmer. Anyway, we come to the Pacific with Julio's worst missing Hawaii to the north, Genevieve heading further north to join the big dogs in tropical retirement. Pretty nice day down under. That high pressure should be dominating most of the land here. In Europe, just look at that low in the North Atlantic. This ramped wind speeds in Scotland caused flooding in England, wild lightning along the mainland coastlines, and it is not done yet. The worst weather today, however, will actually be coming to North America. When the differential in temperature is this large, the energy exchange is too. The temperatures follow the winds, but we have very strong high and low pressure cells here, and where they meet, the alerts will come roaring. Severe weather expected in the east with flash flood warnings extending up into Ontario and Quebec. Meanwhile, the northwest and southwest should expect unusual rainfall totals and possibly some severe storms. Kicking to space weather, where the strongest of the coronal hole streams peaked out last night just under 600 kilometers per second. This time, the density fell away in kind, leaving less of an effect geomagnetically. Although the sensitive electron flux did take a beating, we saw some low-energy proton surges. The impact calls for another Uyen candidate, and that's likely the East Pacific development expected this week. X-ray flux shows another day of weak solar flaring, and the sunspots really don't appear ready to change that one bit. The departing spots are small and decaying, while the incoming grouping looks to have beta magnetics and is turning this way now, but utter silence is expected. For those new here and who have missed our discussions about the Earth-facing solar quiet, where the sun seems to shy away from any activity in Earth's direction, we will revisit that topic very soon. Top eruption threat of the plasma filaments. Thin, dark ropes here. We'll check out the coronal holes and more in our shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear. It's 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Thanks to Ben from Suspicious Observers for that report. Again, that's down in the About tab. You can click on it and watch it as you wish. I highly recommend you go watch the series, the Sun series, and his climate series, and get a better understanding of what's really going on with our weather and how the sun affects it, as well as things like gamma ray bursts and whatnot. It's interesting stuff. At least it is for myself. I've been interested in weather all my life, and it was kind of shocker to realize just how much the sun affects that, and how actually electrical, and I don't just mean lightning, but the storm systems themselves. I kind of had a suspicion of that for many, many years, but this was the first time that I actually he's the first one that I've ever heard put it together. I had a suspicion about it. I didn't really dive into it. I kind of went in a different direction in my life, but yeah, good stuff. I appreciate his hard work at bringing that to us. So anyway, I have a feeling that before too long I'm going to be having a much longer than a 1 hour show. I feel a rant coming on. And I feel a show coming on that might go into 2, possibly 3 hours. And I really do feel a rant coming on. I feel like I think I just touched the surface of it tonight. And again, I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I was passionate. It's something I'm passionate about. When it comes to humans and our natural rights, our rights to protect ourselves, our rights just to live, just to have people leave us alone, and just as important, if not more important, to leave others alone. I get passionate about that. I get passionate about that. I really do. Really bothersome. Really, really is. And I've felt that way my entire life. And the more and more I follow God, and the more and more that I give my heart to Him, the more I understand it. The more I feel it. The more I'm willing to stand up for it. I hope you'll all join me on that. I really do. Okay, folks, that's what I've got for you tonight. I will be back tomorrow night with more news. As always, I pray that God blesses you and He walks with you. I really do. Really do. Be one with that Spirit. The closer you are to being one with that Spirit, the more you'll understand all this, the more you'll be able to not just talk the talk, but you'll be able to walk the walk. I assure you. If you become one with your Spirit and not one with man, it makes all the difference. All the difference. Read that good book. It explains it. It does a very good job of explaining it. That's why I'm doing the Corinthians project. Anyway, I hope you all have a good night. I love you all. Hang in there. Be kind to one another. Try to understand one another. I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.